Most professionals try to make decisions by gathering more and more data. The problem is, in the leadership context, the data is never going to be complete. And that's why CEOs use a completely different approach. And this is what I call reflective equivalence. This is one of the most powerful tools that CEOs use as a secret to making decisions 10 times faster, and it's something they don't teach you in business school. Most managers end up delaying their decisions because they're waiting for certainty, but certainty never comes. Because as you go up in a business, in an organization, you will be expected to make more and more decisions with less and less information. In other words, less and less certainty. Or the other reason why managers delay decisions is because they are analyzing and making decisions and having plans and clarity after failures. So they learn only after failures. Or the other reason why is that they spend a lot of time overanalyzing and going through all the different scenarios. The problem is that all of these approaches are only one-sided perspectives. And that one-sided thinking is the bias of the amygdala. And it really is responsible for all your desires, the emotions, desires to be comfortable, desire to be praised, desire to be seen a certain way, desire to have the things that you want to achieve. And that's why you hear people say things like, well, if we go this direction, well, it's going to be awesome for us. Things can't go wrong. Or you hear the opposite. Well, this can only end in a total nightmare. It's going to be awful. And that's why you hear these two things. Because in the amygdala, things are either more positive than negative or more negative than positive. And sometimes it can even take things to the extreme, as in it's only positive, it can only go well for us, or it can only be a disaster, it can only go terribly for us, all or none extremes. And there's definitely no such a thing as an outcome that is all or none. All positive, no negative, or all negative, no positive. There just isn't such a thing. So that's why when you have these biases and when you're trying to make this decision, you experience a dilemma. And really, the dilemma is in our own making. The harder we pursue that fantasy, we are pursuing, in essence, an impossibility. And what happens when you pursue something that's unattainable? It leads to distress. And as long as you pursue a one-sided outcome that is a bias and illusion of the amygdala, what happens is that you either pursue it recklessly or you freeze in degrees. So it can be a little bit reckless or quite reckless, or it can be a little bit of a freezing and paralysis, or it can be total paralysis. You see, there it happens in degrees. And that's why when you're pursuing one-sided outcomes or one-sided fantasies, that's why a lot of people will spend their time overanalyzing. And that's also why you feel uncertain, because there is no certainty when you're pursuing one-sided perspectives. You can't be certain because there's no such a thing as that fantasy outcome. So you see, CEOs have a completely different approach. They reframe their reality and they see what really is instead of one-sided perspectives. They have a habit of questioning their perspective, challenging what they see so that they're more balanced in what they see and their assessment of outcomes. It is reflective equivalence. I call it reflective equivalence. And what it means is training your brain to see both sides simultaneously. Because the truth is, every decision, there are benefits and drawbacks, there are opportunities and risks equivocally. It is equally. It is an equilibrium. So that's why you train your brain to see both sides. The minute you see both sides, it reframes your understanding of reality and you can be more decisive because now you have the certainty of reality and you have the certainty of what is instead of a biased assumption and a fantasy of what could be. Because when you're down in your amygdala, it's a very binary response, and that's where there's reactivity. If you're reactive, you are also reflexive. A reflex is all or none. It's fight or flight. It is paralysis, freeze, or being reckless and going head on. So this is a reflexive response of the amygdala. But when you practice what I call reflective equivalence, you're bringing the decision away from the amygdala and into your executive cortex. The cortex, the frontal cortex, that's where you are the most reasoned and rationale. That's where you are more reflective. That's where you have the clarity, the vision of what is, and you can be more decisive in the certainty that what you see is what is. Because when you see the balance of the risks and the opportunities simultaneously, you're less likely to be reckless because you see more positives, And you're definitely less likely to freeze because you see more negatives, but you see the simultaneous both imbalance, and you are also less likely to be in a dilemma because a dilemma is in your own making. Reflective equivalence is what breaks the one-sided perspective, the illusions, and it helps you to develop the balanced clarity that CEOs have in order to be more decisive and to make decisions quickly. You see, while most professionals are craving the one-sided illusions because it feels comfortable, because of the emotional charge related to it, that desire for pursuing things that are pros and pleasure, and the desire to avoid things that are negative and nightmares, that polarity of push and pull, fawn and freeze, fight and flight is very trapped in the amygdala. And most professionals desire that because of how comforting it is and because of how it feels good to pursue the things that are pleasing to me. And that's what keeps people stuck and indecisive. But CEOs know that it's not about making decisions decisively. Is not about how much you know, it's more about how much you see. If you're in a place right now where you already are making decisions with less and less information, but let's say you feel less confident about it and you have that uncertainty, but you desire and you have the need to be more empowered in your decisions, then I invite you to work with me. Click the link below this video and it's going to take you to a page where you have different options. And these different options represent different ways of working with me, different degrees in which we can interact with each other. And it depends on you, your timing, your schedule, how you prefer to work with coaches. And choose the one that works best for you. And get started. Be decisive in this, because if you invest in yourself, having this reflective equivalence is one of the most powerful tools, not just in decision-making in your career, but decision-making in all areas of life.